Welcome everyone to my Sigewinne guide. Sigewinne's banner is almost here, and in this guide, I will go over her kit and what she does, playstyles, artifacts and stats, weapons, teams, and lastly, constellations. Keep in mind that Sigewinne is not officially out yet, and some things are still subject to change. And without further ado, let's get into her kit. Sigewinne is a 5-star hydro healer. She wields a bow, scales on HP, and has an HP ascension bonus. Her normal attacks deal 3 hits of physical damage. Her fully charged attack deals hydro damage, and holding it, launches little bubbles towards enemies, which also deal hydro damage. Sigewinne's elemental skill is where her healing comes from. Using her skill, Sigewinne will launch a bolstering bubble bomb that bounces on nearby enemies. This bubble will bounce for up to 5 times, dealing hydro damage and healing all party members aside from Sigewinne. After the bubble bounces for 5 times, Sigewinne will restore her own HP, both the healing and damage scales on max HP. You can also hold this skill. Holding it will increase the bolstering bubble bomb's size for up to 2 tiers. Each tier it grows in size will also increase damage and healing by 5%. When the bigger bubble bounces, it will drop down a tier in size until it returns to its normal size. Smaller enemies will also be imprisoned if they're hit by a bigger bolstering bubble bomb. Additionally, 2 source water droplets will be created after using Sigewinne's skill. Each droplet Sigewinne collects will grant her a bond of life worth 10% of her max HP. When this bond of life is cleared, Sigewinne will gain 1 energy for every 2000 HP healed from the bond of life. Up to 5 energy can be gained this way. After using Sigewinne's skill, she will deal an instance of Uzia-aligned hydro damage, scaling on max HP once every 10 seconds. Moving on to her burst, Sigewinne will use her syringe and take up a bit of on-field time to deal AoE hydro damage. During this burst, she can also absorb up to 2 source water droplets nearby. This burst lasts for 2.5 seconds, has a cooldown of 18 seconds, and an energy cost of 70. As for her passives, Sigewinne's first passive will trigger after using her skill, lasting for 18 seconds. Sigewinne's hydro damage will be increased by 8%, and she gains 10 stacks of convalescence. When any party member aside from Sigewinne deals off-field elemental skill damage, 1 stack of convalescence will be consumed, increasing damage by 80 for every 1,000 of Sigewinne's HP above 30,000. This buff is additive and gets directly added into your base damage, similar to Shenna's damage buff. This buff doesn't apply to Sigewinne. It works for off-field elemental skill damage, such as Furina's skill, Shiori, or Fischl. The maximum damage you can get through this buff is 2,800, which would require 65,000 HP. Her second passive increases an instance of Sigewinne's healing by the current bond of life on all party members. For every 1,000 HP locked away in a bond of life, Sigewinne gains 3% healing bonus for the current instance of healing. Up to 30% healing bonus can be gained this way. Sigewinne can gain a bond of life by collecting source water droplets, which she can also generate by using her skill. And lastly, Sigewinne's exploration passive will heal your active character while underwater, if their HP drops below 50%. Once it does, Sigewinne will heal back 50% of your current active character's max HP in over 2.5 seconds. And while this happens, elemental and physical resistance will be decreased by 10% for 10 seconds. This effect can trigger once every 20 seconds. Sigewinne is a very strong healer who can heal the whole party by using her skill and doesn't need to take on field time, while also buffing your off-field party members' elemental skill damage. This makes her a very strong teammate to pair with Furina. Sigewinne's healing will be very strong and able to stack Furina's damage buff. In fact, her healing is so strong that she can heal up to 130,000 HP. This includes the total healing all party members receive combined. This of course will slightly differ depending on your build. The huge amount of healing allows you to go for more offensive stats and artifact sets to buff your team's damage. Sigewinne's off-field elemental skill damage buff can be stacked by building HP, which you will need 65,000 off to fully maximize this passive. Since Sigewinne's healing is already a lot, this allows you to use an HP circlet to stack this passive, instead of using a healing bonus circlet. Sigewinne also gains healing bonus through her passive, which she can stack by herself just by collecting source water droplets, which will grant her a bond of life, and therefore allowing you to increase her healing bonus. The healing Sigewinne provides and the buff she brings to off-field elemental skill damage makes her a very strong healer to pair with Furina. However, she may not always be the best fit for your team, even among other hydro healers. Which brings me to the Kokomi comparison. With both being hydro healers, the comparison between both units will be often discussed. Sigewinne lacks some of the things that make Kokomi a great option in many teams, with or without Furina. Kokomi can apply more hydro than Sigewinne and in a larger AoE. Since Kokomi's a catalyst, she can also use Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, and can keep a higher uptime on sets like Tenacity of the Millilith. So in a team where you want off-field hydro application, like an Ayaka team, Kokomi is just better. Kokomi has a longer burst duration, which allows her to drive many teams while also healing the whole party. Sigewinne, on the other hand, does not have the same driving capabilities, and she does not apply as much hydro. This also applies in teams without Furina, such as a Nilou Bloom team, where using Kokomi is a better option as she can drive the team and apply hydro. However, Sigewinne does have some advantages over Kokomi, such as her healing, where she can heal all party members just by using her skill and without taking up on-field time, and she also increases Furina's damage through her passive. In short, both Kokomi and Sigewinne have their advantages. Sigewinne can provide more healing without taking up on-field time. Kokomi can apply more hydro and can drive some teams. If you already have Kokomi, then getting Sigewinne is sort of a side grade. And if you just want to strictly increase Furina's damage, then Sigewinne will do that. But at that point, getting Furina's Constellations might as well be a better option. But as usual, if you like a character, feel free to pull for them. Don't let me stop you. When it comes to Sigewinne's talent priority, you will want to first level up her skill, as that is where her healing comes from. Her burst can also deal a bit of damage, and if you want to use her burst, you can level it. However, it's not necessary since it just deals damage and takes up on-field time. Normal attacks are also not necessary to level. When it comes to Sigewinne's artifacts, since she will be healing enough regardless, it is better to choose whichever sets bring the most damage to your team. This sheet here is for Sigewinne's personal damage. Both Ocean-Hued Clam and Song of Days Past are decent options. Ocean-Hued Clam provides off-field physical damage, which increases based on how much HP is healed. Sigewinne can easily reach the maximum healing for this effect. The damage from this set is decent, and a nice added bonus to your team's total damage. Songs of Days Past records the amount of healing for 6 seconds, and then gives your party members an additive damage buff. Sigewinne can also reach the maximum effect on this set. In this ranking here, Ocean-Hued is higher due to the additional damage from the effect. However, in an actual team scenario, the difference is very small and slightly in favor of Ocean-Hued Clam. Ocean-Hued Clam will give more reliable off-field damage, while Song of Days Past will allow your main DPS to deal more damage. Both sets are very close in terms of damage, and you can choose whichever set you already have. Ocean-Hued Clam is also farmable through the Strongbox. A 2-piece HP and HP mix is also viable, and you can definitely use it instead of a full 4-piece set. Tenacity of the Millilith is also usable with an attack scaling main DPS, but keep in mind that Sigewinne may not have the best uptime on this set. Maiden's Beloved will give you the most healing, but the extra healing is not necessary. Going for a set that provides more HP for Sigewinne's passive damage buff, or a set that increases the team's damage, is oftentimes better. Before going over main stats, let's firstly talk about how much energy recharge Sigewinne needs. And actually, you don't even need energy recharge. Sigewinne's burst deals damage, and if you're just using her as a healer, you don't really need to use her burst, and therefore don't need to invest into energy recharge. However, if you are planning on using her burst to play her on field, or especially with some of her later constellations, you will probably need around 160 to 180% energy recharge to be able to use Sigewinne's burst consistently. This can also be lowered if you have other Hydro Party members or Favonius on the team. But again, using her burst is not necessary. As for main stats, Since both of Sigewinne's damage and healing scales on HP, you will ideally want HP on your Sands, Goblet, and Circlet. Going for Hydro damage on your Goblet can be viable if you have close to 65,000 HP or want Sigewinne to deal more damage. Going for healing bonus on your Circlet is not really worth it, since she already gets a bit of healing bonus from her passive, and the extra healing is not really useful when Sigewinne already heals enough. Going for HP to increase her off-field elemental skill damage buff is usually better. As for substats, you will want HP and crit rate if you're using Favonius. Unless you want to use her burst, building energy recharge is not a priority over HP, but you can definitely get a bit of ER. The same also goes for crit rate and damage. It's not a priority, but you can also get some crit stats. When it comes to weapons, since Sigewinne is an HP scaling healer, you will ideally want a weapon that increases HP. Sigewinne's signature weapon, Silver Shower Heartstrings, is going to be her best in slot in terms of both healing and damage. This weapon increases HP by 66% and can increase HP further through its effect. Keeping up the stacks to further increase HP should not be difficult with Sigewinne, and you can get a lot of HP through this weapon. It also increases elemental burst crit rate when the maximum HP increase is achieved. The crit rate increase is nice, and it will be more relevant with some of Sigewinne's later constellations. Overall, a decent weapon for Sigewinne, but not at all needed. There are some other bows that also increase HP, such as Aqua Simulacra, which increases HP by 16%, and the 3-star Recurve Bow. Recurve Bow is a 3-star weapon, and therefore easily obtainable. This weapon increases HP by 47%, and that alone makes it a great option. The passive restores HP after defeating an opponent, which is nice, but doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. This weapon is obtainable for free and a great option, both in terms of damage and healing. Sacrificial Bow doesn't increase HP, but it can give you an additional skill cast. The additional skill cast might not be as useful as it may appear, since you probably wouldn't need the extra bit of healing. However, the extra skill cast might sometimes be useful. Favonius Bow is a great supportive option, as it can generate extra energy for your other party members. However, it requires additional crit rate investment, and you must be on field to trigger the effect. Elegy of the End can also be used, but the effect will take some time to trigger, and it would require more precise timing. Overall, Sigewinne does not need a 5-star weapon. The 3-star Recurve Bow is a great option as it increases HP. Aside from the Recurve Bow, you can also use alternative options, such as Favonius or Sacrificial Bow. With Sigewinne being a healer, you can fit her into many possible teams that may need a Hydro healer, with or without Furina. However, she can shine with Furina in some teams, especially with characters that can make use of her off-field elemental skill damage buff. You can form an Electro Charge team with Furina and Sigewinne as your healer. Alongside them, you can use an off-field electro damage dealer like Fischl or Yaimiko, and lastly use a flex unit like Kazuha in the last spot. You can also run an electro main DPS like Raiden or Clorand, alongside an off-field electro damage dealer, or a flex unit like Kazuha or Sucrose. You can also run 3 Hydro characters, with your main DPS being a character like Ayato, with an off-field electro damage dealer like Fischl or Yaimiko. You can turn this team into a mono Hydro one by dropping your electro character and using a flex unit like Kazuha instead. Hyper Bloom teams are also viable. Alongside both Furina and Sigewinne, you can use an off-field Dendro applicator like Nahida with an on-field electro character to drive the team, like Sino or Raiden Shogun, or go with an on-field Dendro character like Alhaitham with an off-field electro like Kuki Shinobu or even Fischl. With some Geo characters like Navia, you can run double Hydro, and while it isn't as much damage as running Bennett or Xianyun, it definitely still works. With Navia, Furina, and Sigewinne, you can use a last spot with a Geo support like Zhongli or sub-DPS like Chiori. Chiori can also make use of Sigewinne's buff in this team. You can also run both Zhongli and Chiori with Furina and Sigewinne, and while this team doesn't have a dedicated main DPS, it can still work provided that Chiori and Furina are both built to deal decent damage. Vaporized teams can also work, although do keep in mind that Sigewinne is not the best option for characters like Shangling. However, you can make it work. With a character like Shangling, You will want to pair her with Bennett for the attack buff and to help with energy. You can also go with another pyro damage dealer instead of Shangling. Freeze teams can also sort of work alongside both Furina and Sigewinne. You can use a cryo damage dealer like Ayaka or Ryothisli and a second cryo support or sub DPS like Shenhe or Rosaria. You also have many more options running both Furina and Sigewinne in your team, and you can also just run Sigewinne as a general healer without Furina in your team. There are many possibilities for teams this way. And lastly, Constellations. Sigewinne's first two constellations are amazing for supporting Furina, and her later constellations are more about increasing her own damage, mostly through her burst. In this ranking here, I included Furina's damage from her elemental skill to showcase the difference Sigewinne's constellations can make. Sigewinne's C1 allows her bolstering bubble bomb from her elemental skill to bounce 3 more times. The first 3 bounces will also not cause the bubble to drop down in size. Additionally, her first passive's effect will also be enhanced. Each bubble bounce will add 1 convalescent stack to her off-field elemental skill damage buffing passive, and the damage buff will be increased to 100 damage for every 1,000 of Sigewinne's HP above 30,000. The maximum damage increase is now 3,500. With C1, you still need 65,000 HP to reach the maximum buff. This constellation is amazing for increasing Furina's damage and other party members dealing off-field elemental skill damage. C2 will grant Sigewinne a shield. After she uses her skill, the shield is worth 30% of max HP, and it absorbs Hydro with 250% efficiency. The shield will last until the skill lasts. Additionally, after her burst or skill hits an opponent, the opponent's Hydro resistance will be decreased by 35% for 8 seconds. The Hydro resistance reduction allows both Sigewinne and Furina to deal more damage. Both C1 and C2 are decent constellations, especially for increasing Furina's damage. C3 increases elemental skill level by 3, and C5 increases elemental burst level by 3. C4 increases the duration of Sigewinne's burst by 3 seconds, which allows you to stay on field longer and deal more damage. C6 increases elemental burst crit rate and damage when Sigewinne heals. Crit rate will be increased by 0.4%, and crit damage by 2.2% for every 1,000 of Sigewinne's max HP, lasting for 15 seconds. The maximum increase is 20% crit rate and 110% crit damage. To reach the maximum effect, you will need 50,000 HP. This constellation allows Sigewinne to deal much more damage, and it also makes it worth investing into energy recharge and more offensive stats. Overall, Sigewinne's first 2 constellations are very good at increasing Furina's damage if you're pairing them together, and her later constellations are about increasing her own damage. Sigewinne's constellations are decent, but you don't need them. And that's all from this guide. Thank you for making it till the end, and thank you for watching.